Welcome to Voice First TV. My name is Ian Utile, and I am at the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center inside the broadcast studio. Next to me, we have the Voice of the Car Summit, and it's buzzing with energy and excitement. We have car manufacturers like Mercedes and others. We have all the major consumer device players, right? Amazon Alexa was just with me. Microsoft Cortana I spoke with. I have Google coming up next, which has Assistant, right? Samsung was here. And so all these folks are coming together with startups and established companies like SoundHound Inc. talking about like this new platform, right? Cars becoming productivity machines instead of just transportation devices. And you've come to join me. I'm so grateful for you. You were a part of my very first event in Voice. It was the Future of Voice back in November. You couldn't make it, but you sent me an amazing tech demo. I'm like, this is awesome. I'll show this. And so we got to tell the world about you a little bit. Then we got to spend time over at the Alexa conference in Chattanooga.
Absolutely.
And I know you just did your talk. So before I ask you a couple questions about the talk, can you just share who you are, what Botmock does, and why people need to know about your product?
Absolutely. So my name is Obaid Ahmed, and I'm the founder and CEO of Botmock. So Botmock is a conversation design and prototyping tool. We basically enable designers to build better experiences, whether it's for voice, text, multimodal, anywhere where there's conversation happening. We want to give them the tools to actually make them better.
Yeah, you do really good on like video demos. So you've been doing a lot of video demos that you post on YouTube consistently. Tell me, what has it been like to tell Botmock's story and to try to explain the product, and what things like just have alarms go off in people's heads like, oh, I have to use them?
Absolutely. So when we show them the product itself, one of the biggest problems that they are having is there are multiple different tool sets that they're using to achieve a goal. So right now, if you want to design an Alexa skill, for example, your content writers are writing things in Excel, your business analysts are writing the user flows in Visio or Lucid Charts, and then the developers are trying to put it all together, and then somebody has to review it and figure out, oh, well, this doesn't sound good, this doesn't look good, we need to rethink this, and then the entire process breaks down. So when we show them that there's one tool that can bring all of those into one place for them and then make their design iterations faster, it's like they're mind blown and they really see the value of it. So we use videos to convey that message to them and say, no, that's the value of it.
How does that make an impact on a developer? Like a freelancer or a small team, no Botmock, compared to they get to use your tool. How does that transform their ability to create a minimal viable product or take version 1 to version 2? Like, walk us through the reason for using it.
We are a big believer on design testing. So before you go out there and put out your Alexa skill and spend so much hours and energy in building it, you can use our tool to actually build an MVP. You can send a link to somebody else in your network, your user base, and say, hey, if this is the Alexa skill, you can talk to it, you can interact with it in browser, no development required, and they don't need an Alexa device to actually interact with it. They can actually start giving you feedback and say, hey, this was too confusing, this is good, this is bad, whatever that looks like, but then you can improve on that and say, okay, this is what we really need to build. And the other problem with all of these voice applications is that the data they need to actually understand the user from a prompt perspective is something that is extremely hard for writers to come up on their own. So for them to be able to share it to other people and say, hey, there's a pizza ordering, I use this example everywhere right now, but you take the pizza ordering bot that you're designing, and you send to 5 of your friends and network people, they all order it differently, but now you're getting data of how people will behave. So your skill right out of the gate is much better designed. So people always ask us, things like, when is the next killer app of the use case of voice coming out? We think it's just not being designed properly, and that's where our tool can help.
And what is a massive hurdle? What's some things that have just been really, really tough in your process as the leader of Botmock, whether it's team dynamics or developing the product or user feedback? Because, that's what makes great stories, right? I want people to get to know you and not just engage with the product, but the story. So what is something that really just caught you off guard and you thought, wow, this is going to be tough to overcome?
Yeah, so we actually got a lot of users in 2018 asking for features that are on our roadmap, but it's taking us a while to get to that point. We kind of underestimated how big of a problem this really is that we are trying to solve. We kind of had an intuition about it, but We were trying from a text point of view on Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp and other places, and then the voice came in, and now we're getting customers coming to us and saying, this is great, we've designed something, I want to run usability testing on this. I want to run not just small usability testing on this, I want to run it on a large scale. I want to get us to be thinking about design first in this space. What are the best practices around it? And putting all of that together is getting a little bit of challenge for us. It's nice to see that we are on the right track, but it's also nice to see that there's a lot of growth in this market. And a lot of these developers and design teams are being pushed into this new space. And what they're learning along with us is that if you can take some of the design principles from web and mobile side of things, so and apply them, but voice is different and conversation is different. So you need to rethink some parts of it, and the tooling is very important for that.
When you were talking in the room, you just finished up your talk, you talked a lot about conversational flow, right, for users. You're ultimately serving your clients' users. That's really what you're doing. You save your clients time, but you're really actually building models that are duplicatable by which users have the most delightful experience. So talk to me about your passion around the conversational flow for the users of these products that your clients are building using your tool.
So we try a lot of skills out in the market. We reach out to them, we talk to them about it, we talk to a lot of designers, we talk to a lot of users. We figure out what is your frustration in adopting voice-first technologies or conversation technologies. And the thing that we repeatedly hear about it is that the experience is bad. It wasn't doing what I thought it would do. I didn't know what else can be done in this skill. Discoverability is one part of it, but once somebody has found your skill, found your app, the onus is on you to make it delightful for them. And the problem is that it's voice only, or it is in that conversational side of things. There's either a lot of back and forth questions, and people are like, well, I just gave you all the information, why are you again asking me that information? Or people are like, I think this only does one thing, and that's it. They don't know what else can it do. So that frustration and those things where we can look at the designers and the community in general and say, okay, what are these practices around it? How do you take care of the small chit-chat in your application? How do you keep everybody on track? This idea that your app should be able to reply about anything and everything doesn't exist, shouldn't exist. Your mobile app doesn't do that. Your users don't expect you to do that. They'll try it out, but some of them are just bad design, so you let them on it. Jokes are a great example of that.
You talk about user expectation on the stage, right? That was like one of the main things. So what are some applications that you've seen where the different conversation markers and open dialogues have been dramatically improved?
So things like flight search, for example. Somebody comes in, they search for flights. They might not know what their options are. So usually you search by saying, I need a flight from Toronto to San Francisco on this day and this day. But your application might be smart enough to tell them certain other things like, hey, these are the top 3, 4, 5 results. I know that you take these airlines more often. What is your preference here? And you don't have to do that as a first interaction. So most app developers would try to do that as an onboarding. So your first time you interact with it, they're like, oh, before I can let you search, tell me all of this profile data. And then the user is like, well, why am I telling you? I don't know what the value is of giving all this information. Whereas some of our customers, actually one of them actually tried doing this with their small user group, where they actually asked them, if you have a preferred membership of an airline like Aeroplan or anything like that, and let us know, we can refine your search results based on that. And all of a sudden the user was like, oh, you can actually do that? That was like that kind of like aha moment. And those are that delightful experiences. But it also enables them to get that the user now has expectation around it, and they interact more and more and open it up.
What else would you like to tell people that are watching as we kind of conclude our conversation? What other thing could people know about your product or your intention or your vision for the future? Like, give us a little last insight before you wrap up.
So the main thing, if there's ever a takeaway that I want to give people, is that think about design as the priority even when you're thinking about your conversational apps. Doesn't matter which platform you're targeting, doesn't matter if it's voice only, Facebook only. Think about user, think about design, approach it that way, design first. test it out before you actually think about developing it. This is a new space. You have to try different ideas, and there's nothing better than actually trying different prototypes quickly and saying, okay, which path do I need to take? I don't think there's going to be. We are still in the phase of finding out what the use cases and the design patterns are going to be. So it's not going to be that you design it once and leave it out there and that's it. It's going to keep on working forever. Just like your mobile web apps and other things, this needs to evolve. You will learn, do something quickly, learn from it, and then improve it.
Yeah, it's great.
Sure.
How do people get a hold of you and Botmock if they're interested in using your product?
Yeah, so the easiest way is to just go to botmock.com. Or you can just email me at obaid@botmock.com.
Awesome. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for your attention. Here comes the Frisbee. Here it comes. We're going to a video. I'll be back.